Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everyone. This is Brother Mushtaq coming at you live from the Happy Strong Family studios within Masjid Darul Iman in Markham. And today we are going to talk up imposter syndrome. If you don't know what that is, stay tuned, watch this episode. If you know what it is and you're like, oh my God, every time I go to my office's bathroom, I need to do wudu, the entire washroom is flooded with water. As a Muslim, I need to maybe not do that. There are things to get around that, but that's just one small example of being a Muslim in a professional workplace. What do you do? What do you not do? How can you be Muslim? How can you identify a Muslim? And Sister Huda Adnan will answer all of that. So Sister Huda, welcome to this week's podcast.
Jazakallah khair for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic more.
So tell us, I gave a very silly example, right? The answer to that, Imam Nabil here at Masjid Darul Iman explained it really well. He's like, just take a spray bottle. Go to your dollar store, take a spray bottle and just literally spray yourself without like creating a lake effect of just pools of water everywhere so that, you know, when your colleagues come into the bathroom, they're like, oh, must have been that Muslim guy or girl.
Yeah.
You know, like
Right.
then you're endlessly just trying to hide it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, how do I do my wudu? Do I even
Right.
have a prayer space in the office?
Mhm.
Can I have a beard and
Yep.
be CEO? Can I wear my
Right.
headscarf?
Mhm.
I knew a colleague who went through various struggles of
Mhm.
wearing a hijab, not
Right.
wearing a hijab.
Mhm.
But it's much deeper than that. So
Yeah.
please, it's not just on the surface.
Mhm.
It's not a surface level thing, is it, Sister Huda? So just let's
Yeah.
deconstruct this. I mean, you're a registered social worker.
Mhm.
So you tell us, what have you come across?
Mhm.
Don't give any names away. Just give us examples
Right.
from your practice, but tell us from like a clinical perspective, a social perspective,
Mhm.
what do we as Muslim professionals struggle with
Right.
when it comes to identity, resilience, the whole
Mhm.
concept of imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
right? It's now 2025. We reached
Yep.
the midway mark of 2025. It's going to be
Mhm.
2026 soon.
Yeah.
And yes,
inshallah.
some of us are still struggling with our identity of being a Canadian Muslim
Mhm.
or Muslim Canadian.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for that context. I'm going to share a little bit of context and take actually a little step back.
Yeah, please.
So before I actually had my practice, I've been working in the field as a social worker for, I want to say, over a decade now. And before that, it was me actually working with and in other organizations. So this looked like nonprofits, community health, provincially, even nationally. So I have a lot of not just professional experience of witnessing and supporting Muslim professionals and even training other organizations about how to better support not just Muslim professionals, but any diverse individuals who don't feel like they're included in the workplace. But I also have my own lived experience of not feeling welcome, not feeling a sense of belonging, not feeling like, I value that I matter in those workplaces. So I want to firstly just acknowledge that feeling is so heavy to come in every single day into a workplace and not feel valued, not feel seen, not feel heard. For me, there was points where I was the only, not just the only Muslim person on my team, but the only racialized, like only person of color on my team in Toronto, which sounds like it sounds unbelievable when you think about it, but really and truly, me being in those spaces, I feel like it taught me so much that I'm so excited to talk about and share with other Muslim professionals, especially folks who are entering the workplace like new, who have just graduated, also for folks who have even been in these industries for such a long time. But I really wanted to share that firstly, that you being in those spaces as a visible Muslim means so much and you deserve to be there and you really belong there. So all of those feelings and those thoughts. So when we talk about what is imposter syndrome, so the way that I define imposter syndrome is not having a strong sense of self in the workplace, because we often feel like a lot of self-doubt. We might be the only Muslim person in that space. space. And it's really just like you shared, like I really want us to deconstruct that even further,
Mhm.
because I think actually if we look at the deep core of it, it's an identity issue.
Right. So now tell us, Sister Huda, being a Muslim, let's just say either you're just entering the workforce on one end of the spectrum,
Right.
and then you're now a CEO, or you're about to become a CEO. Say you're a CFO of a company or a COO, the big chair is just yours.
Right.
You're on the cusp of getting that chair. Now, let's talk about this one end of the spectrum, and then we'll go to the just the newbie. Okay.
Yeah.
So being like a professional, you've worked, you've given your time, you're a part of the organization, but let's just say in this scenario, you've had to make sacrifices. Right. Either you're a Muslimah, maybe you've been off and on about wearing your hijab. Okay. As a Muslim man, brother, maybe you have or have not had the beard. Again, these are all external things, right? But let's get more into the intrinsic, internal stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been shying away from praying your salah within a dedicated prayer space in the office.
Yeah.
Or maybe as a CEO, other Muslims are looking upon you to say, hey, come on, big boss, where is our prayer space in the office? Where's the masalla? Right. Various office towers have entire masallas on a given floor to accommodate, the practicing Muslims in that office. Right. But then again, as you're saying, that self-doubt creeps in. Right. Oh, is this the right thing to do? Am I being a Muslim first and a CEO second? Or am I not Canadian enough? Or am I being too Canadian? Like, where is that defining line where you can say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a great CEO. I'm an empathetic leader. I'm a vulnerable leader. I'm a relatable leader. I'm authentic. That's more than enough.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether I'm Muslim or not. Doesn't matter if I'm wearing a hijab or not. Doesn't matter if I have a visible long beard or not.
Right.
This is good enough. The board or my staff or whomever have entrusted me to become a CEO. That's more than enough. So how does one get rid of that self-doubt then? What do they do? Is it just breathing exercises? Is it just, mental gymnastics? Oh, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. Like it's got to be something more to this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is such a great question. I work with a lot of professionals who are in these spaces, oftentimes in corporate environments, and that feeling that creeps up is such a strong feeling. So the first thing I want to share is I think it's so important that the second that you wake up on that work day is setting your intention. I remember actually one of my mentors so beautifully taught this to me. She said, when you wake up in the morning, she's like, I want you to remember and to remind yourself, why are you even doing this work? Is it because you're a provider for your family? Is it because you want to take care of your partner and your kids? Is it for the sake of Allah? So it's really important to set your intention for the day. I think that is the first biggest part I always remind people, because oftentimes when we wake up, we're just like, sometimes we just even roll out of bed. We're just trying to get into the meeting. That's our first piece that we do. But I remember actually, and one of my Indigenous mentors actually taught me this. She said in the morning, take those first, if you can, if you have the capacity, try to wake up 2 hours earlier and take those first 2 hours for yourself, because that whole rest of your day, say if you're working like a 9 to 5, if your hours are in between that, you're going to be giving so much of yourself to everybody else that it's so important for you to ground yourself before the day even starts, just for you. And remember what your intent and what your intention is. I think that first piece is so important, because oftentimes we're giving so much to everyone else. We're overextending ourselves to all of our colleagues. It might be our team, to our kids, to our spouses, that we forget ourselves. And you know that very cliche saying that you can't pour from an empty cup?
Yeah.
We really can't. So that is one of the first things I would recommend. Another piece that is so important is you need allies in the workplace. And so when I say you need allies, even if it's one person that you have a relationship with. It doesn't even need to be on your team. It can be someone in a completely different department. I remember when I worked for the government, my closest friends, nobody was in the social work realm. It was like an accountant and then a policy advisor, but I found so much comfort in my relationship with them. It's so important for us to remember. And I think oftentimes, especially for us as Muslim people, we really feel like we have to power things out all alone. So say, for example, like this case example of the CEO, right? He or she may feel like I'm just on my own, nobody understands how I feel. And so that self-isolation is really going to deteriorate your mental health.
Right.
So I always say for people, even if it's one person, find your person, find your ally that you can depend on, that you can lean on. I remember actually, and one time when I was the only Muslim person on that team, and I found my one friend, and when it was time to pray, I would oftentimes feel really nervous because I'm like, I already stand out. I'm the only hijabi. Like, it's bad enough I'm the only Muslim therapist on this team. Like, I can't believe I have to like step out. It was a winter time too, so prayers are back to back.
Yeah.
If you miss one, you miss one. And I remember one of my non-Muslim colleagues, which I remember her to this day. I appreciate so much. It was so funny and it was so sincere. She's like, "Hey, don't you have to?" And I was like, "Oh, you mean pray?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Isn't it your prayer time?" She's like, "Why don't you go?" She's like, "I can stand outside like the office door, we can book like a meeting room." And I remember that. Yeah, it was so sweet. It was
Awesome.
so thoughtful. Like, I remember that to this day, but it's because I created that intentional relationship with her. That even if there was times, like I remember at a conference I went to, one of my friends told me like, "Hey, if we can't find she was not Muslim as well. She's like, "If we can't find a place to pray, I'll put down my winter jacket and I'll find a corner and I'll like guard it for you if you'll feel comfortable." So building those relationships with folks who are outside of our community is so important, because they say, especially with imposter syndrome, it's an isolating feeling. So the way to heal and recover from that is through relationship.
Okay, that's such a great example. Such a great real life example. Now,
thank you.
So Sister Huda, let's put perhaps a religious lens on this. If we look at the life and times of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was one hadith that really kind of sticks out in my mind as you're telling your story. It's when the Sahaba came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they said, "Oh Prophet, our iman actually dips whenever we're not with you. Whenever we're away from you, it actually dips. Like there's clearly something wrong with us.
Yeah.
We're either not in the fold of Islam anymore, or maybe we're just, wrong. There's something wrong with us. Like this shouldn't be the case."
Right.
And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Look, when you're with me, your iman is going to be at an all-time high. This is just the after effect, the glow up. Obviously, this was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was like, there was a lot of poetry. He was like the most beautiful of stars, like the moon. You just couldn't turn away. That was him. That's who he was. He had that effect on people. There were some people, according to the hadith, that even just looking at him became Muslim. In his company, there's one famous example of, say, a banker, and he demanded that his money be returned. So Umar went to the treasury, gave him his money back, and he was quite upset with the Prophet. He shook him violently, and Umar got very protective. Obviously, he was that kind of man, very protective, very guarded, very emotional in that sense. And oh, Prophet Muhammad, just give me the word, I'll get rid of him. Like, how dare he lay a hand on you, so on and so forth. Prophet was like, no, it's okay. Give him what is owed of him, right?
Right.
That same banker then went, "Oh, I was just testing you. I'm going to take Shahada right now."
Wow.
I saw the Prophet Muhammad just wanted to test him. It's one of those last things I wanted to see with my own eyes. Taking the Shahada right now. So when you're in the company of that type of person, the Prophet ﷺ explained it that when you're not with me, your iman is going to dip. So to your point now, I'm going to bring it back full circle and connect the dots.
Right.
When you're not in the company of good friends, colleagues at work, you are going to feel this sense of loneliness, aren't you?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
it's just going to play mind games with you. You're going to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is this the right thing to do? Like, Sister Huda, explain a little bit more. To me, it sounds like you need, to use the term, a sounding board. You need like an anchor,
Yes.
right? You need someone within the workplace, that colleague,
Mhm.
or maybe outside of the workplace, to say, you know what, you got this.
Yep.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
even just last night, it was my daughter's hifz khatam, and
Mashallah.
my daughter mentions to me all the time, well, Baba, you always give me encouragement.
Mhm.
Whenever I have to do it, I have the Quran. And he's like,
Yes.
you always tell me you got this. And I'm like, yeah, that's what good Babas, that's what good dads do, right?
Yep.
Like, they tell their kids, hey, you got this.
Yeah.
So tell us more about just getting rid of this, isolationism. How does someone build resilience? Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum, to a newbie.
Yes.
Okay, someone entering the workplace.
Yeah.
Again, they're shaky. They don't have that confidence. Say a CEO, waiting in the wings, or a CEO would have.
Right.
All right, someone just new to the workforce. They've put in their time doing their degree. Whatever. Again, same scenario.
Yep.
They're wearing a hijab. They're not wearing a hijab. They're unsure. Some days they do, some days they don't. Maybe they just kind of wear a loose headscarf, right?
Right.
Or a Muslim man, young brother, he's growing out his beard. Maybe it's a little bit scruffy, patchy. He has to kind of like cut it.
Yeah.
And then maybe he's just newlywed. His wife is like, "Oh my God, you've lost your faith. You're no longer Muslim. You've trimmed your beard, you shaved your beard. What's going on? It's a goatee now.
Yeah.
Why?"
Right.
And then he has to be like, "Oh, it's the work environment.
Yep.
I can't do that." So again, these are all very external things, but at the heart of it, it's all internal, right?
Yeah.
It's the heart and mind thing.
Exactly.
So, Sister Huda, tell us from that dimension. If you're someone new to the workforce, again, you're going to have your own set of challenges emotionally, mentally. So how does one build up resilience from that kind of starting block?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good question. So I'm actually going to take it even a step further back, because you mentioned like the part around resilience. It actually starts from home. So even you having a strong sense of self and moving into the workplace, that is going to be determined, and your success in the workplace is really going to depend on what's going on at home. So say, for example, if you have the privilege of still having your parents around, a lot of the things that they say to you. And actually, I remember one of my amazing mentors taught me this. From the age of 0 to 10, that is the most tender and vulnerable time for children and their brain development. So I want you to think of it like a house. This is an analogy I oftentimes share with my clients. Think of it like a house. So when we're building a house, you put in like the cement, you put in the roof, you're putting in the foundation. So from 0 to 10 years old, that is your child's brain development. And so after that, we can do little tweaks, right? Like we can put a little bit of paint, we can change the doorknob. But after that, our child's sense of self, it doesn't mean it can't be repaired. I do a lot of work in trauma. It can be repaired. It just takes a long period of time. But their internal core beliefs of like, I am brilliant, I'm amazing, I'm going to contribute so well into the workplace, it actually starts from that age. And it moves into how you move through as an adult. So I always say to the parents I work with, to folks who are married, even folks who are just single and like have a great group of friends, it's so important to be around people who contribute to a strong sense of self for you, who build your confidence, because that will be able to prime you and your tolerance for how you move into the workplace and your resiliency. If I know for a lot of people, they didn't have the privilege of having parents who were supportive, or even just like family members who were supportive. And that doesn't mean that it's a hopeless situation. That means you have to intentionally build your sense of self. So what I always recommend for people who are new going into the workplace is study the policies, especially things around diversity and human rights, because those are the parts that are going to protect you. Say, for example, if someone asks like, hey, use myself. Hey Huda, why are you going to the meeting room and why do you have the office room booked for just 10 minutes to pray? And you can go back and refer to that policy of, oh, actually, according to this, I have access to it. So I always share, especially for folks who are new in graduating, make sure the organization you're entering into, you know that organization, you know their mission, you know their values, you know their diversity and equity policies, because that's going to protect you.
So very rarely do I get triggered, and very rarely do I go off on a rant. But at this point, I'm just going to look at the camera, and I do this every now and then, Huda.
Yeah.
So I'll just look at the camera and say, we're broadcasting live from Canada, north of the American border. We are here allowed to say the word DEI. See, I'm not being censored. There's no D beep, E, O, beep, we, Sisterhood and I, could actually use the word diversity, equity, and inclusion. Welcome to Canada, people. If you're an American, please either apply for a visit visa, come visit this great land of ours, full of diversity, multiculturalism, different than a melting pot. And yes, we still do believe, and we still do have policies reflecting diversity
and equity
and
inclusion.
There you go. So yes, it is possible. We happen to have a great prime minister behind that is making sure we still uphold our values of diversity,
equity, and
inclusion. So there you go. Now I'm going to get off my soapbox and perhaps a public service announcement and back to our regular scheduled programming. Sister Huda.
Thank you for the disclaimer. I think that context was very important, actually. I missed that piece because most of my work is like in Canada on a national level, but I really appreciate that disclaimer because not everyone has that privilege.
100%. You probably thought, oh my God, this brother's going off the rails. What's wrong with him?
No, I appreciate
Brother Anan was on edge right there. He was like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? Am I going to have to step in? Like, what's going on? Brother Anan, why don't you come over to we don't have a chair for you right now, but just come into the frame, man. Come into the frame. Don't be shy. Yeah. I told you this would happen. I told you off air this would happen. So now producer Kashif is going to do this wide angle thing. Just kind of, hunker down here. So brother Adnan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Adnan Razi, and I'm Huda's husband, and just happy to be here. And a very important topic for today. The imposter syndrome. It affects everyone, and it affects Muslim people on a much more additional level than for everyone else. It adds another layer. Something that I've experienced myself, but very important, as you guys were discussing about this earlier. It's always important to share those stories together, right? Because it helps to get a better understanding of how to be able to navigate that struggle. So
absolutely, 100%. Thank you. Thank you for that. I know I put you in the hot seat without there being a physical seat here. So thank you for that. Again, we're back to regular scheduled programming. So let's see if we've had any questions. Producer Kashif always has a question. And I've kind of used this flippantly. People may or may not understand the reference, and I won't use it ever again. But in the corporate world, there's a voice of, anyways, I won't go there. It's a corporate term when, let's just say the speaker who does all the voices for the events. You have that one announcer, right? Not the MC, but you have the announcer.
Right.
That voice that is everywhere for the stage.
Yeah.
So we kind of see producer Kashif as that. He doesn't ever come on front of camera. I'm trying still. But one day we hope to get him here in front of the camera. But he's our producer behind the scenes. So producer Kashif, your question, please.
Jazakallah khair. So before we get to the questions, we'll just display some information here for folks. So we've been displaying the contact information on the screen also, and I can display it again. So there's the Instagram handle, Nur Al Huda Cares, right? And then we also have your website of your practice that you run. And so before we continue, inshallah, why don't you just tell us a little bit about this, what you offer, and how folks can reach you, inshallah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for giving me the space to speak about this. So there's a few things that we actually offer at Nur Al Huda. So it's not a I would say like a traditional private practice. So most of my work actually is in consulting. So I actually work with a lot of organizations on a provincial level, on a national level, and actually teach them about how they can make their organization more culturally responsive, how they can support not just their Muslim employees, but whether they're Indigenous, Black, or racialized, how they can include them into this work, into the workforce, and make them feel valued, make them feel heard. I love that, like the teaching aspect of my work. The second part of my work that I do is I support clients. Most of the clients that I work are usually young Muslims, might be folks in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and plus who are in the workplace who may have different areas that they're experiencing some issues. So it might be things at home, things with family, it might be things in the workplace. I think that's actually the most common issue I've been seeing.
Right.
Yeah, I love to support folks one-on-one. I think that one-on-one care is just so important. And then the last piece that I do is I actually work as a clinical supervisor as well. So folks who are new therapists in training, for example, when I was graduating, I could not find a supervisor who looked like me. And so when I had Muslim cases, it was so hard to consult with other folks outside the community
Right.
because they just couldn't understand all the nuances and complexities. So I recently decided to become a clinical supervisor so I can support other therapists and practitioners in their training and just really be able to be there for them in the ways that I didn't receive that support.
Representation matters. I've said it
Yeah.
time and time again on this podcast that representation matters.
Yes.
Whether you are a person of color in the police force,
Mhm.
whether again you are hijabi as a CEO for a multinational company,
Mhm.
representation matters.
Yes.
So now,
Absolutely.
producer Kashif, let's get to some of those questions, please.
Yeah, so inshallah, I'll start it off with a question. So related to what you were talking about, you do. So I guess from both sides, from the employee and organization side. So a lot of people will come up to me, like younger ones, and
Mhm.
hey, I'm struggling with this at work and prayer space and this.
Right.
And the first thing I ask them is, have you talked to your manager? And more often than not, like surprisingly, the answer is no.
Yeah.
So the question is, how can like we sort of develop the confidence to just talk to the people we have? And
Yeah.
then from your work with organizations, like have you seen that organizations are willing to listen and help, or are they all they'll get out of here, I don't want to hear this? So maybe from both perspectives.
Oh,
that's
and
the thing.
can I just put a caveat before all of this?
Yeah.
I just want to, again, I'm going to look in the camera. I'm going to say, look, there's a well-known fact, or maybe it's anecdotal. People leave their managers. They don't leave their jobs. They don't leave their companies. They leave bad managers. So I actually said that out loud. Yeah. Okay. Please, over to you, Sister Huda.
That's real. The first one, in terms of developing that confidence to be able to ask your manager, that first part comes from you genuinely remembering that you are valuable and you deserve to be respected in the workforce.
Nice.
Because oftentimes for people, they don't have that, they feel that anxiety or that like barrier, like pushback, like, oh, this is not professional, like this has nothing to do with like my deliverables, I don't need to be asking that part. But the thing is, until you actually ask, worst case scenario would be no, which is a whole different issue. Like that, you remember to document that and take that to HR. But the thing is, you have to be able to value yourself first and to remember that I deserve to be in a workplace that allows me the opportunity to so simply just pray. So I really always want to encourage that to folks, because oftentimes we feel this anxiety of like, I'm the only Muslim one, and I myself experience this. I'm the only Muslim person in this workplace. Like, what if it looks weird? Like, it's already bad enough I'm the only hijabi. Those negative thoughts and those core beliefs, I want you to push them on the side and to dispute them. And to remember that Allah chose you to be in that workplace for a reason. And there's purpose in every single workplace that we're in. And we need to be in those places. We need to be in those workplaces. That's what I always tell to my clients. It's very, very rare that I recommend for people, to, and there's other outlets, like you can take a mental health leave. We can start looking for another job. But what is really important is for you to remember that you have purpose in your role and you make a difference. So you deserve to be there. You need to be there. You make a difference. And remember that you are valuable. So ask that question. The worst case scenario would be no, but that's literally the worst case scenario. Think of best case scenario on the other side.
Right. Best case scenario
being that they say, yeah, sure, whatever, use your break. Like, yeah, of course. Like, why are you even asking? Just go do it. I've had managers say that to me. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, of course you can. Like, why are you asking me? Just go.
Well, again, I mean, here, at least in Canada, it's a fundamental human right.
Yeah,
It is a human
exactly.
right, to pray.
Exactly.
Now, just again, I don't want to harp on the whole Canadian American thing, but with the current administration, I guess it's been now almost a year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
God knows. But that being said, we're here on Canadian soil. So you'll probably see where I'm going with this question.
Yes.
What has been the ripple effect
Mm.
of our southern cousin, neighbor, big brother, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
good old US of A? But what
Yeah.
has been the ripple effect of the United States
Mm.
and its banning of all things, quote unquote, wokeism?
Yeah.
For God's sakes, it's again DEI.
Yeah.
It's meant to elevate and uplift people
Right.
who are marginalized
Mm-hmm.
for legacy and institutional reasons, that they too get a fair shot in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've oversimplified it,
Mhm.
nor is this like a, Martin Luther King vision.
Mm-hmm.
But at its core, that's what it's always meant to do.
Right.
And I think we in Canada have that luxury
Mhm.
of understanding, again, being a multicultural society. And yeah, hello, people, I was about to swear, being July,
Yeah.
2025, like I said
Right.
earlier, we're halfway through the year. It's going to be 2026. For
Yeah.
God's sakes, how long can we say, oh, women have to shatter the glass ceiling?
Yeah.
So can you imagine a hijabi sister,
Mhm.
how much more hard it is to shatter that glass ceiling?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually had one time a recruiter go all Jesus Savior on me. He's like, oh my God, you'll never get it anywhere in the corporate world. You have to shave your beard. I'm like,
Oh.
I'm going to end this conversation real quick, bro.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need your white
Mhm.
colonialism attitude on me.
Right.
I'll get pretty far,
Yeah.
all thanks to the grace of God. I don't need you. And I literally ended the call that way. He was shocked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it so shocking?
Yeah.
I don't need your colonialist attitude
Right.
or tropes
Yeah.
imposed upon me.
Right.
I am who I am, and
Mhm.
I'm proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sister Huda, has there been an effect?
Mm.
Has there not been an effect? Tell us candidly.
Yeah.
And what can corporate Canada, what could corporate Canada, or what should corporate Canada do to combat it, if there is
Yeah.
anything, to go
Right.
against it, if there is anything? Because look, at the end of the day, like we're saying, representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
So if we kowtow, if we cower, and we were like, oh no, Big Brother America is saying, we can't do this kind of stuff. We as Canadians are like, come on, for God's sakes, we're Canada.
Right.
The US has got nothing on us,
Mm.
at least not in DEI.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us that as it is, Sister Huda, please.
Yeah, that actually answers Brother Khashif's questions about the organizational piece and in terms of the pushback. So definitely, because I've been in this industry for about a decade now, there has for sure been a cut in equity and diversity initiatives. And we know that's for many reasons. I think inflations and folks trying to reprioritize what programs are there. And unfortunately, when it comes to organizations reevaluating where their money needs to be, it's oftentimes diversity and equity initiatives that get the first cut. I've seen that a lot. So I've seen a mix. So I've seen some organizations that I've worked with that are like, no, this is a priority for us. We're going to shift in other aspects, but this is going to remain an important program for us. I've seen the other side of organizations saying like, yeah, we are going to have to cut this part. I think in any given case, especially for us as Muslims, as we're moving through these workplaces, it's important for us to not compartmentalize us in a box of just diversity and equity work. Because the thing is, for myself, for example, like even though I am a Muslim, I am a clinician. And I'm a very skilled clinician. I know what I'm doing. I can teach. I know how to work with my clients. I know how to work with other organizations. So I think it's important for us to also remember we can be strategic in how we navigate and pivot in organizations. But obviously being a Muslim is very important to our identity. But we have to look at our skills, look at our educations, look at our trainings, look at our certificates. And we need to be strategic and utilize that, because it's easy for us to sit and victimize ourselves ourselves and be like, oh man, they're really coming after us, like they're cutting all the programs. But we also have to think, is that the only box I fit in? It's not. They didn't just hire you because you're a Muslim person. They hired you because you are skilled, because you are qualified, because you are brilliant. And it's so important for us to remember that foundation, because we oftentimes are so oversaturated. And it's important, yes, it's important being a Muslim person, it's important being a racialized person, but it's also important for us to really honor the skills that Allah has given us. And we are brilliant people. Like, look at the way Muslim people are contributing in so many different ways, so many different businesses. There's so many different skills that we have, but we have to have the confidence to believe in ourselves that that is the work that we can do. So yes, there will be cuts, but we also have to remember that we are smart and we are brilliant and we can be strategic in how we navigate those parts. So I always want my Muslim professionals to always remember that you have so much to offer and to contribute. Don't let those cuts bring you down, because there's so many other aspects that you can contribute.
Well said, Sister Huda. Now, Producer Kashif, let's get to those questions, please.
Yeah, just one more comment. So, yeah, there are cuts, but one thing I will give a lot of organizations credit for is that I think it was a post-COVID or COVID effect that a lot of them have raised their insurance coverages for mental health services. And I know the corporation I have has like greatly increased it. So I encourage everyone listening to take advantage of those, because most people don't even know that they exist. A lot of the services, Sister Huda is registered, the social worker. So a lot of the services would be covered if you were to seek her help or someone
under a corporate healthcare plan.
So I encourage everyone
benefits.
to look into it. As we say, like as Brother Mushtaq always says, you don't need to suffer alone, right? There is help out there. And, it's not even necessarily help, just talking through some of these things. Like, a lot of it is not waiting until it's too late. Sometimes we hear that from marriage therapists. We hear that all the time, that I wish they had come to me earlier, right? They sort of came when it was too late.
Yes.
So just, so sorry for going on a bit, but encourage everyone to look into their corporate health coverages and see if some of these services
100%.
are covered,
100%.
inshallah. So yes, we have some questions coming up and some comments. So let's go through these.
Yeah.
So someone is saying, mashallah, much needed convo for Muslim professionals. Jazakallah khair. There's someone here was saying, great advice. Having a strong community around you while your kids are young helps develop a stronger Muslim identity.
Definitely.
So sweet. Excellent work, Huda.
Oh, thank you.
We have great podcast, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely.
Jazakallah khair.
And then we have okay, let's go to the live questions first.
Uh-huh.
Someone was asking, what are some signs that being fake, so they have fake in quotation marks, at work and not your true self is impacting your well-being? So what are some signs of that?
Great question.
That's a really good question. So this is going to sound quite foreign to Muslims that I work with. This is a skill that I'm always teaching. I think, especially with Muslim professionals, we really are high achievers. We're always doing the most, wanting to do every project, staying late. Like, this is what I'm like myself. I did, but also a lot of the work that I'm seeing with my clients, they really push it. Right. And so what's really important is, especially when you feel like you're not being authentic to yourself, which this person is asking, is I really want people to tune into your body. So your body, like Allah has given us our body to be able to signal when something's wrong. So when you feel your heart starts beating around maybe certain people, maybe certain projects, you feel like you're going to throw up, you feel like your palms are getting sweaty, I want people to really tune into how their body is feeling, because your body is going to indicate when we're not being our true authentic selves in the workplace, our body starts to retaliate against us. You might notice, oh, you're getting more sick often, you're feeling burnt out, you don't want to get out of bed. So listen to your body. What I always teach my clients is look at your basic baseline. Are you eating okay? Are you sleeping okay? Are you still socializing? If these core components are being impacted, there's something wrong. Your body's trying to tell you something, but you're ignoring that. So it's so important for you to be authentic to yourself. And when you feel, for example, that you're being fake in the workplace, look at your body, do a body scan, ask your body how it's feeling, because that is likely what's impacting your well-being, and you may not consciously know because we're so out of tune, we're so disconnected, we're like, I'm gonna move on to the next thing, that we don't appreciate and value those parts. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question. I hope that helps, inshallah.
Next question, please.
Jazakallah khair. So there was also some questions coming through Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So this one was saying, I'm not strong, confident enough to turn down hugs and handshakes from opposite gender. In moment, I always end up doing it. How can I work on this mentally?
Okay, good question. Good question.
Ooh, that is a really good question. So the first thing I would actually ask yourself is, you are already self-aware. So you unconsciously, you're saying that you're someone that's not strong or confident enough, but you're already aware that there's something that's making you uncomfortable. So I want to give kudos to you on that, because you're already moving a step ahead. Oftentimes we're already doubting ourselves. I think the biggest part is, if you don't have the capacity to verbalize it to someone, assess your body language. So say, for example, if there's someone from the opposite gender, I also had this issue too, who like is sticking their hand out or like ready to give you a hug, either step back, or you can even say something polite if you're not ready to explain yourself. Oh, like, oh no, thank you. Like, do a little, if you feel comfortable, but really assess your body language, because most folks are able to pick that up. But if they're not able to pick that up, you can even take a gentle no thank you, like even something very small and simple. That's something that I often remember as well. I know one of my cousins, for example, this is an example I remember. Mashallah, he's an engineer, and when it came to his graduation, he knew one of the women that was giving him his certificate was gonna shake his hand. He emailed her ahead of time to let her know, like, hey, I really appreciate that this is a gesture, but I just want to give you a heads up that I'm not comfortable with the handshake, so I'm not going to shake your hand, not out of disrespect. But there are ways that you can verbalize this when you feel ready. But I would say right now, focus on your body language cues, because you want to honor your body, you want to respect yourself.
Great advice.
Take
Great
a little
advice.
step back.
Great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice.
Thank you.
Producer Kashif, another question, please.
Jazakallah khair. So there was one question that had come up before, was, how do I deal with feelings of guilt on remaining silent on Palestine at work? So we've talked a lot about this in the past, but
Yeah.
so without any judgment here, because there are people that can't advocate, no matter how much they wanna, how much is hurting them. But so let's assume, like, for what, obviously people got to feed their families, they got to work, right? And maybe they truly are in a position where they can't do that at work.
Yeah.
So for those people, I think that's where this question might be coming from. How do they deal with that? Because it's not easy, right?
Great question. Yeah, please, Sister Huda.
Ooh, this is a question I get a lot when I'm working with organizations.
Yeah.
I think when doing with consults with organizations, this is, I would say, the number one question that I get, not just from Muslim folks, but from racialized folks, from Black folks, from Indigenous folks. So one, I just want to say that how you're feeling, I've seen this a lot. It's not just you that is feeling this way. There's many, many, many other folks that are feeling this way. I think the first piece that's really important is to remember that work is not our whole life. There's so many other places that we can advocate for Palestine in a way that feels comfortable to us, that is safe for us. I think the first piece I want to share is safety, because I have seen a lot of my clients who have advocated for it get doxxed, get fired, get harmed, and this has other severe impacts. So I think what we want to do is we want to hold compassion for these folks that do not have the resources and the capacity, because the thing is that it may not be the most productive in that workplace, because you don't know who's funding you. Right? You don't know who's funding you, and you may be a provider, you may have to feed your kids. So safety is the first piece that I think is really important.
Good advice.
But I think it's so important for you as well to take that passion and move it into other places outside, whether that means you donating, whether that means that you are attending a protest, whether that means that you're attending community events. But remember that there's other places outside of work that you can show your passion, because I really and truly, I've seen both sides. I've seen some organizations that have been very blatant, but then I've worked with other organizations that said we do not use the word Palestine. So being safe is really important, because think of the consequence that would happen at the same time, and think of the quiet ways that you can contribute at work as
Right.
well, right?
Right.
General topics about human rights and ethics, for example, is really important. Like for me, for example, when there's other colleagues that I have who are therapists that don't believe in human rights for all people, I oftentimes go back and refer to the policy, but actually our college says this, and we're supposed to support human rights of all people.
Right.
So always know your policies. I think knowledge is really
Great.
power.
Great advice. Great
But
advice.
I really feel you on that. And yeah, I hope inshallah that you're able to move that passion into other areas of your life.
Great advice.
Jazakallah khair. There was another question that came in here just now. General tips for dealing with peer pressure at work, specifically to do things that aren't, I think it should say Islamically aligned.
Yeah.
You know, one of my cousins, he's actually a police officer, and you know, I asked him like, what's the hardest thing about being a police officer?
Right.
And he says, you know, it's not going into like a call where it could be danger or something. He's like, I find the hardest thing for me is resisting that culture of like, you know, going to drinks after work and you know, whatever. Not to knock police officers, obviously this would apply to any field, right? But so what advice can you give to, because there's, you know, a lot of workplaces and a lot of professions have that sort of culture of like drinking together after work. As I'll use that as an example because that's very common even at my work. Let's go for drinks after work, right? So what advice would you give for people dealing with that peer pressure while trying to fit in at work?
Great question. Please, Sister Huda.
Ooh, I remember a couple years ago, I had this issue too. I was, again, the only Muslim woman in that, I don't know why, in the department at that time, which was so strange now that I think about it. But I remember oftentimes I was asked like, oh, do you want to go get a drink after work? Visible hijabi. Imagine me sitting in a bar. That's just a whole other part. But I think what's really important is to find different ways that you can build relationship with people. So say, for example, if that's a suggestion, why don't you suggest like, hey, do you guys want to go out to eat at blah, 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 maybe perhaps a halal restaurant, because, you know, there's so many great halal restaurants and people love food. Maybe, for example, it would be like going to a waterfront or something that is more in alignment with you. But I think it's really important to remember that you are not powerless in that situation. And that's not the only social activity that can be suggested. In the same way that folks are suggesting like, yeah, let's go out for a drink, you can also alternatively suggest these other parts. But what's really important is the way that you frame it. And you know what? There's also, I know for me personally, I have a lot of non-Muslim friends that actually don't drink and who are also not comfortable. So similar to what I said before, you need to create relationships and allies with other folks who are in alignment with you. It doesn't mean that they also have to be Muslim, but look at different interests. Maybe for example, some of them like golfing. Maybe for example, some of them are like big foodies. But I would say in the same way that they're suggesting certain things that are in alignment with their culture, you are also allowed to share different interests that are within your culture to not compromise your own self. But it's so important for you to remain strong in your own self. Yes, they will sometimes be able to feel it, but what matters is more so the relationship aspect. It's not just shutting them down and shutting them out, because it's very important to have a relationship with your colleagues. You're there in and out. You spend a lot of time with them, but think of different ways that you can actually pivot. Think of different interests that are in alignment that you can, you know, you got to be strategic in the way that you navigate.
And there's truth and power, isn't there? And it ties together several elements of what you mentioned earlier, Sister Huda. You know, authenticity, being comfortable in your own skin. Right? That's self-realization. All tying into getting rid of imposter syndrome. In my corporate experience, I've actually told people, sorry guys, I don't drink. Right? And they actually respect you for that. Now again, this is the dunya. As long as we are always abiding by our values of deen, yes, in the dunya, in the world, you can still make do with that. And there are ways that Allah actually helps you excel. Case in point, I'll give you an example from my own corporate experience. There are obviously, again, we're here in Canada, alhamdulillah, you have the company Christmas party. Right? You will have a company retreat. You'll
Mhm.
have like a working session for 3 days at an
Yeah.
offsite.
Yes.
I'm giving you all actual corporate
Yeah.
lived shared experiences.
Right.
So within that, you know, if I am say at a Christmas party,
Mhm.
what I'll do is I'll take either a ginger ale
Mhm.
or sparkling water.
Mhm.
And that'll be my
Yeah.
quote unquote, looking into the camera here, that'll be my drink of choice.
Yep.
It's a non-alcoholic drink. Drink in the sense that I'm going to physically drink it. Not a drink that is an alcoholic drink. It's
Right.
a non-alcoholic drink. Again, ginger ale, sparkling water,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So many examples.
Yep.
I was at this mixer in
Mhm.
Vancouver for a summit.
Mhm.
And you know, we were in a hotel bar,
Mhm.
and the hostess came up to me, and she could tell I was Muslim. She's like, "Hun, I'll make you any non-alcoholic drink you
Oh.
want." I'm like, "You are the most awesome
Sweet.
person here tonight.
Yeah.
What do you suggest?"
Mhm.
And she's like, "You know what? I can definitely, you know, make you a, what was it? It was like a ginger lime juice and honey."
Nice.
And she gave it this awesome name,
Yeah.
like Dragon's Breath or something like that. And I'll be like,
Right.
"Wow, friend, make me one of those."
Mhm.
And she came back, whatever, 10 minutes later, and that thing was awesome.
Right.
Like, you know, you're still
Amazing.
interacting with your colleagues.
Yep.
You're not isolating yourself.
Yes.
You're still part of the event.
Exactly.
Obviously within the bounds of
Mhm.
Dean,
Mhm.
you know, that's a whole separate
Yeah.
topic for another day.
Right.
But again, you're in the moment.
Yep.
Right? You're there.
Right.
There was another situation where, let's just say, said Christmas party,
Mhm.
my other colleagues had a little bit too much to drink, and one
Mm.
colleague actually threw up on the CEO.
Oh.
I saw this
Oh.
with my own eyes. Yeah.
Ooh.
And the
That's messy.
CEO kind of just had to kind of with his hands
Yeah.
kind of take all the puke and vomit off his suit.
Oh.
And he actually messaged me the
Mhm.
next day.
Mhm.
He said, "I respect you for not
Mm.
drinking.
Right.
I respect you for not drinking." That one line sentence said it all.
Yeah.
You know, because I told him up front, I go, "So and so, I
Mhm.
don't drink.
Mhm.
I know we're here in Europe. I won't tell you the name of the city.
Yeah.
But you can well imagine the Europeans and their drinking. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness."
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just one of those things where it's like, there's power in truth.
Yes.
There's power in transparency. There's power in being your authentic self,
exactly.
isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually what regulates your nervous system. What dysregulates people's nervous system is having to perform, having to be someone that you're not, because it's not authentic to your body, right? So you being your real, true, powerful, brilliant self who is grounded in your identity, it actually heals you. It regulates your mental health. And it's so important for us to be strong and confident in terms of the decisions that we make, because that in turn allows us to be strong and confident mentally, and allows us to be great partners, great to our family, and like it's like a snowball effect, you know? So yeah.
All right. Producer Kashif, we're almost 5 minutes to the hour.
Yeah,
We
Jazakallah khair.
usually keep it to an hour, but I see we still have questions. So
Yeah,
please.
we have some
over to you.
questions. So someone was asking, Assalamu alaikum, Jazakallah khairan, is this being recorded? These are pearls of wisdoms. So mashallah. So yes, it
so
is.
sweet.
Jazakallah.
Yeah. It is being recorded, and it's
Mhm.
available on the same link. All our past episodes are recorded, and you could search them. Sister Huda herself has been on previously talking about generational trauma. So
Yeah,
inshallah, check that out also.
inshallah.
And there was a question on Instagram screen. Sorry, I can't just scroll. I'm just going to paraphrase what it was and recall it from
Yeah.
memory.
Please.
But they were basically asking what exactly is imposter syndrome. I think we might have
Right.
discussed it earlier. They might have missed it.
Yeah.
But specifically,
course.
they were saying if imposter syndrome is like I think you were saying thinking you're not good enough or
Mm.
something, right?
Yeah.
How do you distinguish between that and actually not being good enough and needing to invest in your skills and stuff to improve? So
Mm.
Oh, good question.
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Please.
So I think I'll start off with what imposter syndrome is again.
Let's do a recap.
Yeah. So essentially, what imposter syndrome is you doubting your own sense of self, you not being able to be your authentic self, you feeling you're not smart enough. Just a lot of I would actually correlate it to like self-esteem issues. That's oftentimes what I'm seeing with imposter syndrome. But not only that, sometimes really and truly, we're the only like person of color in the workplace. So we do definitely feel it even more being the only person of color in the workplace. So that's essentially what imposter syndrome was. I think the second part is like, how do we actually know that we need to work on our skills and the development piece?
Right.
I think what's really important is, even for myself, even though I've been a social worker for 10 years, I'm always in training. Any of my friends or colleagues
Well
that
said.
are talking to
Well
me,
said.
it's always important for us to learn. And this is just a general statement, just for any person, because really and truly, we don't know all things. Every single day, the world is changing, technology is changing, our industries are changing. It's important for us to be open-minded and to not just be like, just have this mentality of like, I know all things, I'm fine. It's very important for everyone to engage in professional development, because things are changing and we need to be on top of what is happening. And for people who are actually incorporate environments, there's a professional development budget. So you can
Yes.
actually ask your manager. I remember I always used to utilize this when I also worked in corporate environments.
Mhm.
Ask your manager about what trainings are available. If you do see something that you're interested in, is send it to them and let them know. But I think for any person, it's always important for us to continuously engage in skills and training. But at the back of your mind, reminding yourself why you're doing that. It's because you're brilliant and you have value and you have a lot to offer. But it's important for all of us to always upgrade. And I think learning is a very Islamic element as well. It's important for us to always remember and to be mindful and be humble of our ego part of us that feels like, I'm smart, I've been in this industry for so long, why do I need to learn? But the reality is, so much is going on. We need to always be mindful and to always be on top of it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice. So,
Jazakallah
please,
khair.
Kashif, and maybe a last question.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just end with a question. There were a few more comments and questions, but we have been sharing the contact information, so I encourage folks to reach out. So you know one of the advices we often hear when it comes to marriage is don't bring your work home with you, right?
Yeah.
But after hearing this conversation and the feelings and challenges that people are going through at work, like how can you be a spouse and not let your spouse bring that home to you? So
Yeah.
like I'm just curious, what exactly does it mean, like don't bring your
Yeah.
work home with you?
Right.
And what are your thoughts on it? Like how do spouses support each other?
Oh, great
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Great question.
That's a really good question. So I think there's a really big difference between projecting your work issues on your partner versus communicating to them and looking for support from them. There's two totally different issues that I see with a lot of folks who are married. So when I say projecting, for example, someone had a bad day at work. Your manager was really rude to you. And so now you're coming home, you're giving your wife silent treatment, you're yelling at your kids for the smallest things. It's really important for us to ground ourselves prior to coming into the home. So what that looks like is usually what I share with my clients is, think of it like, I remember being taught this, the analogy of like taking off your work coat, and your work coat is all the work issues. It's your deadlines, it's your projects, it's, manager being rude to you, and hanging that up before going into the home. Because the thing is that oftentimes we're now actually taught the skills in our community about how to communicate. So it could be, for example, that their wife might be busy, kids might be busy, but if you need that place to vent, is talking to your partner if they have the capacity and resource, like, hey, there's something difficult that happened at work, would you be okay if we like debriefed about it? Right? Because it's so important to have that emotional support, and let your partner know in terms of what you're looking for. Maybe it's not a solution. Maybe you just want them to hear you out and just listen to you and validate you and comfort you versus projecting. So I think those two differences are so important. We want to be able to make sure that we're not taking our work stress and all those painful parts of work and projecting it onto our partner, because these are two separate situations. We need to be able to learn to, like, one of the skills that actually one of the therapists I work with taught me is compartmentalize that part. It doesn't mean like shove it into the back, but compartmentalize it until you're able to navigate it at work and to be able to prioritize what's going on at home. Because when that gets mixed up and then we get angry and we project, it doesn't help. But that means you have to have grounding tools to compartmentalize it. That means maybe before you come home, you go for a walk. Maybe before you come home, you go to the gym. You know, if you like, I don't know, bubble tea, you want to grab a drink, do something to ground yourself, you know, deep breaths. But you have to remember that it's so important for us not to carry and project that onto our families.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's solid guidance. Thank you
much.
so much, Sister Huda.
Welcome.
And Hubby Adnan, thank you. I know I put you on the spot, asking you to come into the camera, but thank you very much. You were a very good sport about it. This has been a phenomenal podcast in so many ways because we talked up a very important topic, imposter syndrome, and how to analyze yourself, how to listen to your body, how to listen to the signals of your body, how to basically bring your authentic self to the table. And yeah, I'll say it one last time, at least for today, we are here in Canada. We're a pretty damn proud nation because yes, we respect the words of, and then I'll have producer Kashif switch over to Sister Aisha. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Clearly, it's the end of the podcast.
It's okay. No problem. Yes.
And I need a cup of coffee. So the ongoing internal joke behind the scenes is that we've had a coffee machine. It wasn't working for the longest time. We have a new one, but there are no coffee pods apparently today. So, and you know, Brother Anan was telling me about all Van Hoot, blah 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 blah. You know, not to get in anyone's corporate feathers. But that being said, Sister Huda, how about you finish the sentence? What again is DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay, hell yeah, we're proud to do that in Canada. If you're an American, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Oh, what I will say is watch the podcast and share this podcast and let it be known that, hey, we're here in Canada. We got a good thing going on. So enough of that. Thank you for watching this podcast. On a more serious note, we do this live stream every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So either when we start the podcast, we'll say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to wherever you may be watching live, globally speaking. We happen to be here within the Happy Strong Family Studios at Masjid Dar Liman in Markham. Look us up, come to the masjid, great place. All right, this is Brother Mushtaq signing off for today's session. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.